All right, here we are again. So I need to adjust things a little bit. Look at massive glow from the light here. Whew. It is a cold day in the shop. Let's see here. Make sure everything looks like it's functioning properly. I just got out here, empty my pockets out. Got, because of it being deer season, a metric butt ton. Hey Johnny, how's it going? I don't really know how to pull stuff up off of my, oh hey, I just click on it, dope. I've got a bunch of deer heads that I need to do European mounts on. I've got several here that I need to finish up, such as this buddy's worked on him last week. Now it's all bleached out, so it needs sealed. But yeah, got plenty to do, and it just doesn't stop coming. I'm trying to get my mic straightened out here. I bet it would work better if I clip the non-microphone side, so it keeps it from sliding. Cool. But yeah, I figured I'd start just trying to work on streaming where I can, and this is something that's at least a little bit different and interesting than the normal. Gonna wander around the shop a little bit as I finish getting ready. I have brought my Beagle Mix mutt out to my parents' house because my wife is taking the girls up to doctor's appointments, and he is an anxious boy that can and will destroy the house if left alone, even though he's 5 now, 6 now. So, yeah. Thanks for stopping in, man. All this live streaming stuff's pretty new and different. Just trying to find my own little niche as I continue to learn art and get deeper into this comic book and YouTube community. All right. I need to go do my ceremonial lighting of the head boiling pot here in a few minutes. Right now, just gotta fill up my big stock pot with water. See if I can scooch the camera a little bit. This direction. Past all of the dead animal heads. Help. I mean, it's nice to have this iPad case be magnetized, but it's also kind of a pain because it sticks to the metal that's covering the table. All right, looks like Dad didn't fully clean this. I love him to death, but he harps on me about making sure things are clean. And then whenever I come in and do work behind him, it is not. Little bone fragments down in here. All right. Water in the pots. Get some washing soda. Help cut the grease and the fat whenever we get to boil these heads off. But yeah. There we go. Lift that up a little bit. Cool. That's all started. Dope. Yeah, if anybody wants to talk about anything, we can talk. If not, I'll just default to kind of narrating what I do as I do it. For whatever reason, the old iPad Pro Bluetooth range isn't quite as good as my phone Bluetooth range. So I'm going to try not to have to step outside too much, because then things tend to cut off. Got one head right here that I'd like to get started on because it's starting to stink up the back of my car. It's winter, so it's been very cold lately. Actually, it's not too bad smelling. So yeah, trying to take this and turn it into this. The stinking lighting in here is so bright. I wish this thing had a dimmer switch. But Dad is a proponent of, you know, the best lighting for something is always the harshest. So directly overhead, incredibly bright, and there's, I don't think, any way of shortening it up. Oh well. But yeah. Get started here. Wife has the girls up at post. Actually, is that still sharp? That's still sharp. Tongue tie revision appointment. So I would have liked to have went and helped out, but it is still deer season, so there are still European mounts rolling in. I'm sure we're going to get at least a couple more this week. I think right now got about a dozen. It's got to be less than a dozen, maybe 9 or 10 right now to do. So refrigerator has 2 thawed out. I'll definitely get those done, plus the head that's on the table. And then it looks like frozen right now. We've got another, too many. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, so probably another 8 on top of the 3 that I have to work on today. Each one takes about an hour to flesh out, and then another hour and a half per head, which I can usually do 3 in the big stock pot to cook all the meat off. I'll clean it up and trim it up. But all right, go get my heads. I got 2 I can start boiling, so I'm gonna go get my pot started. Also, it is very odoriferous in here. Not the worst smelling in the world, but it definitely has a stank. All right. My pot of water over the boiler. Turn my gas on. All right, we'll start there. Don't want to get this stuff too hot, or else it causes it boils the bones a little too hard. All right, get rolling on this first one. Now this deer head came from a co-worker's uncle, I think he said. So I'm just at work. In my work schedule, I work at the same place as my dad, but it doesn't really, we don't overlap a whole lot. I work the weekends. So he texted me, he's like, hey, so-and-so from the lathe shop is going to be bringing by a deer head. Well, okay. So in the middle of my work day, and then suddenly guy comes striding in, which he also works with us, and he's like, hey, you got that in the back of the car, or in the truck. Okay. I'll get her. I just don't know. I don't know what the time period it was that he wanted this done, but I can definitely get it knocked out pretty quick. That was on Monday. Yesterday we had typical. Yesterday is usually a shot day for him. He's like, I gotta go grocery shopping since my wife's a bit of a germaphobe, and we have small children, and she kind of is stuck with the nursling. So I go out and do the grocery shopping. So that's usually several hours. Then I try to give her a break. So I'm stuck. But yeah, here we go. Get to come out here. I'd much rather be drawing, but right now this pays more. So this is what I gotta do, and this is more seasonal. where really I only have to worry about doing or getting deer heads till the end of deer season. So that's like about another month or so-ish, because there's a muzzleloader season after Christmas, and that's more or less it. So I try to keep caught up on these, get things knocked out. Well, it's not quite your typical live stream. I'm not really pulling up clips or anything, just kind of chatting. People stop by the taxidermy shop, the Skinner Shack, then we can kibitz and go from there. I'll say having this nice new scalpel blade definitely helps a lot in having a fully thawed head that isn't all frozen. Is once you get to husking off like capes or like the full body skin isn't near as hard. It's not the hardest, but it's more difficult whenever something's frozen. But if you're gonna have to do something, it would be the body. Whenever I would skin for some of the older guys that do trapping and stuff around here, I would end up in preferring things semi-frozen, because they would club the animal instead of shoot them. And whenever you do that, sometimes you hit them a little too hard and the skull comes apart and it gets really, really messy whenever you get to skinning them out. So at least whenever things are half froze, I'd have a little bit more control over how nasty everything was. All right. I get underneath this burr still. There we go. But yeah, I'm on YouTube right now. I'm on Twitter or X, whatever the heck you want to call it. I'm trying to put some stuff out, be able to engage with folks. Maybe, well, I can continue to learn the whole broadcasting and radio voice type thing, and people can get to know me. Maybe learn a thing or two about taxidermy. Not that it's everyone's cup of tea by a long shot. Like I said, get about 90, I think 80 or 90 a head right now on these. So, excuse me, for a couple hours worth of work, kind of can't go wrong. Get the skin out from right the burr under the antler. I just don't like leaving lots of scraps of crap. Try to get a bunch of this done as soon as possible, because once my family starts to come home, my parents, they tend to like to come in and chit chat. And usually they don't really fully understand the whole live streaming deal. So I just kind of like to be off by then. Then I can chit chat with them about family and their work without any extra ears or them having to think about what they would want broadcasted to the world. All right. Skin on down the nose here. Probably some of my least favorite things about doing this taxidermy is lips. Lips and noses are always just kind of gross to deal with. All right. Oh boy, this is cold still. My fingers ache. Hopefully things are loading properly from Twitter and YouTube. Ooh, cool. I double check my boiling pot. Yep, still looks good. Cool. So I'll just keep slowly bringing the temperature up. Oh, hey, trachea, my favorite. It's also interesting to see whenever people cut their buck's head off if what they decide to keep or leave. Like some of them take it right down to the back and don't leave any vertebrae along the neck that you have to trim off. Other ones leave a vertebrae and a half. Some don't have like any throat inside of it, and other people leave them. So, yeah. All right, trim this along. Guess this would be the equivalent of a boring draw stream for someone else who's an artist. But sometimes I enjoy those. Sometimes they lead to interesting places. At least it lets me keep half an eye on the chat for anyone that pops in or asks any question. Just kind of fun to hang out and have the equivalent of an open door policy. Ooh, jelly fingers. Alrighty, keep trimming away here. Might need to change my blade since this was an older one that was setting already here. I like working with sharp stuff. Dad likes to work with dull things. Not 100% sure why, but I always heard that it was better to be cut with something sharp than something dull because dull leads to more injuries. Also because, I don't know, if you're slicing, you tend to be able to just keep slicing. Like you're not getting stuck on something and have to force or yuts your way through it. Try to sharpen this blade up a little bit. More life out of it. Also happy to not be at work today. Here in the new year, I'm going to be transitioning to a different schedule where I'm going to have weekends off instead of working weekends. So that'll be a little bit to get used to, but it'll be nice because I can actually like interact with the normal world more. There's so much stuff that happens on the weekends or Friday night into Saturday that you don't really realize. Like I've never been some sort of a party person or anything, but as I've gotten into the whole YouTube, live streaming, and Comicsgate side of the world, there's a lot more stuff that happens on the weekend or, like I said, Saturday night, whatever, that I have to catch on replays or can't go being involved in. And that's the whole thing with this indie comics and entrepreneurial based off of a YouTube sphere is you have to be active. You have to actually be involved if you want to build anything. It's not a set it and forget it, which I'm okay with. I like engaging in various communities and getting to know people. There we go. Skin gets stuck between these burrs on their antlers. Curious, like I said, with all like the selling and selling yourself, marketing, building a community, how a lot of these companies are going to do with TikTok having its woes, potentially going away, or at least in the US. I don't know how likely that actually is going to be. I think they have to technically sell to a US based company. But I know a lot of people have built up quite the following over on TikTok, at least like gym influencers and stuff, and people who sold supplements. I have several coworkers that are big into the health and bodybuilding, etc. And they always talked about how they find somebody on TikTok and then go to their TikTok store. I never use TikTok much, but I think it's an interesting idea to see if anyone else steps into that void, right? Like Instagram or YouTube, and comes through and allows you to connect a store directly so you don't have to like leave the app. I mean, obviously you can link it. You wouldn't think that would be an issue, but it was a big part of TikTok. And with TikTok being as successful as it was, or is, I would be surprised if no one tried to capitalize on if it does indeed go away for a bit. Because yeah, I think it'd be pretty neat to see if other folks start implementing this stuff. It's one thing that I've never quite understood, right? Is like why social media conglomerates are so far behind the times on things. Like someone comes up with a good idea and implements it, then nobody else really does it. It's like they each have their own way to try to be unique from each other, but that includes like to the detriment of not implementing features that would be useful. Like you'd think that some of these, I mean, again, I don't know a whole hell of a lot about the tech sector, but you would think that somebody like Meta would have been trying, like with Facebook and Instagram, would have been trying to rival YouTube a little bit more. Instead, we've got people like Rumble on an app that no one really goes to, unfortunately. All right. But yeah, I just always thought it would be interesting, especially like I said, for all of these folks that built their brand on TikTok, if they're going to be able to successfully import enough of their business to either a website or an Instagram or something and convert all of that stuff over. Because if not, that would be really depressing to have a viable business, but it's only viable because of one singular social media platform. Like, I mean, if you're making money, you're making money. Like, I get it, but I feel like you should always be looking to diversify and have as many legs under you as possible. Like if you're pulling a livable wage off of TikTok, wouldn't you want to try to find a way to make more off of some of these other sites so that if something were to happen where suddenly, like I said, TikTok going away or someone decides, hey, let's ban people talking about supplements or something stupid. It's like, oh, well, your whole business model was reliant on you having 1 million followers on one place. And now that that's gone away, you got nothing. Like, that would suck. I do kind of wonder where some of these canceled artists and stuff end up if they don't end up going independent. Like, is there some incredibly talented artist who said the wrong thing or did the wrong thing, just like flipping burgers somewhere because he had no other marketable skills and only did that his entire life? I don't know. Come on, where's that throat bone? These little bones at the back of the throat that you can't quite skim through. There we go. Oh man, this one is still. It's been in the back of my car for 2 days and it's still got ice crystals in it. These little rubber gloves are not good for keeping your fingers warm. There we go. Cool. Up through that. Skin down under the chin. Stop. You saw Euro. Yeah. Wrong kind of Euro. All right. I'll try Hervoye. Grehovac. Yeah, these are, I don't know why, I actually don't know why they're called European mounts, but I just shortened it to Euro. Just the skull, I don't know if it was popularized from like European big game hunters once upon a time or what, but that's what they're called. That's what I'll continue to call them. I'm hoping one of these weekdays, either before the kids wake up or after they go to bed, that I can get a chance to just get on and maybe do like a draw stream or some learn with me videos on YouTube. I don't know. I'd like to make a little bit more artsy fartsy stuff on it. But right now, this is some of the easiest free time I have, right? Just whenever I'm popping out the taxidermy shop. But yeah, no, just talking about how here in the States, we've got supposedly TikTok will be getting banned on January 19th or something. And I know a lot of like influencer type people or like gym people who sell their own supplements all built a big following on TikTok, and then TikTok implemented like the store aspect of it, which I think is cool to have that as like an option or an opportunity where you can sell stuff within the app without having to redirect to a completely different website. And I'm just curious if anyone else is going to step in and be able to cash in on that idea if TikTok actually does end up not being a viable platform in the United States. Or if people will just use a crap ton of VPNs or something. But yeah. I think it would be interesting for like the independent artists out there to be able to just have their TikTok store instead of having to redirect a jankier site like Gumroad or something that people would look at and raise an eyebrow and go, yeah, I'm not going there. Those will steal my information. I've never heard of this place before. I mean, as it is, I think Whatnot's slowly becoming more popular as kind of like a live auction site. And I know there's a couple people that have done like, hey, I'll draw a sketch and do a live auction either while they're sketching or as soon as they're done with a piece, which again, interesting idea, but not too many people know what Whatnot is. It's not, I don't think it has the mainstream appeal that like TikTok does. Yeah, it's interesting to sit back and watch, especially since I was contemplating getting on TikTok and getting that started too, because it's such a large video platform to try to build up an audience in different locations. Get some more meat out of the back of this jaw. How's everybody doing today? Doing okay? In our various time zones spread across the earth. Before it's about 10:30 a.m. here. So wife took the kids for some appointments. So I've got free time and I need to go to get to work on this stuff because I've got more deer heads kind of piling up. So I figured I'd come on out, fire up a stream, work on some of this stuff. There we go. Okay. I think I have enough of this jaw loose to maybe cut it out. No, I need to cut out this other side soon. There we go. Kind of a last minute idea again. All right. Double check my pot of water. Make sure it's not boiling over. I want a slow, either a simmer or a slow boil. Bump it up a little bit. All right. It is a very drizzly, gray, and cold day. Ugh. Not a big fan. I think it's right now like 33 degrees out. So we're coming into some 40-degree weather here in northwestern Pennsylvania. We had a crap ton of snow over the last 2 weeks. Like pretty much every weekend, I think we were packing on close to double digits of snow. And now, looks like it's all melting off. And then we'll start over again, where it'll probably descend into the 30s, 20s. And then once we're nice and cold, see if we get some more snow, and if it sticks around, we have a white Christmas, or if it's a crappy gray kind of time. So lately we used to get a lot more snow growing up. The last couple of years we've been getting a lot milder. It just ends up being squishy and crappy out. I'll remove this lower jaw. Trim the rest of this meat and fat back so I can finish removing this lower jaw. Teeth are stinking sharp, man. Alright. Well, get this last bone removed. There we go. I can finish this off and get into the rest of it. Lower jaw gone. One step closer to where we want to be. Probably see if we get these eyeballs out next. One of the other big parts that needs removed. It's nuts. The bone behind the eye going into the skull and like the jaw is so thin, it's almost like tissue paper. So like here, I can poke and nothing's going to happen, but I put a little bit too much pressure down there, it just crunches right through. Kind of amazing the way that things are designed. It's got enough of the other bony protrusion to protect it. I guess it was, don't really need that much thick of bone, huh? Keep cutting behind and around this eye, and eventually I can just pull it out of the socket far enough to cut the optical nerve. But yeah. For anybody popping in, I'm just working on some taxidermy work. Making some extra money to help pay for children. Kiddos all both had tongue ties, so I've had to finance that stuff because it's not quite bad enough that you would qualify for like insurance, but bad enough that it makes life miserable because they can't nurse properly. So then it turns into the coming up with an extra $1,100 after paying for them being born. So you do what you got to do, right? And this is something that not a lot of people in our area, despite there being so much hunting, not a lot of people do European mounts and do them well, despite how relatively simple they are to do. I got the eye out of the socket, cut the muscle. There we go. Boop. One eye removed. Rainy, gray day. Not really depressing, but I could see how someone could feel depressed. So I know my wife deals with a decent amount of seasonal depression type stuff. So originally, whenever we first moved away from my hometown, she didn't ever want to come back. And whenever we were in Texas, she said she felt a lot better. So I didn't ever want to have to bring her back, but I kind of figured once we started having kids that we'd probably want to be closer to home than not, so that we'd have the grandparents to help us out with anything. And that has rung true. Get some more of this off. Whenever I last stream, whenever I was boiling off some of those skulls, right? I had one that I had just finished and it was picked. I got it pretty clean with my knife work. It came clean from that boil so fast. It was so nice. Whereas the ones that I don't think I did, they were just already here. And I think that Dad probably started them and then stopped them and thought he was done and took way more work and were way nastier. I had to spend way more time boiling to get cleaned up, which generally wouldn't be a huge deal except for the nose fell off of one of them because the bones got too soft, which made it this whole extra thing. So I'm like, yeah, I'd just rather take the extra time, right? Just get it all taken care of with my knife or with this scalpel. Fat. Then my water will stay cleaner for longer. It'll look nicer. Whew. I should have brought a space heater out or something. The cold air is good for keeping meat from spoiling, but man alive, it gets cold. All right, other eyeball. Anybody over on Twitter who may be watching, if you could just, if you haven't already, go to my YouTube channel, which is Based Art Department. Should be linked on my profile. And just give me a follow. I would really appreciate it. Or subscribe. Slowly kind of building that channel up. And it's going to be eclectic, right? Like, I know that for the algorithm's sake, you're supposed to be like, pick one thing and stick to it so that it knows who to show this to. But I've already been eclectic. It's just kind of going to continue to be that way. I'm going to try to make some videos for it. But I like being able to work on what I want to work on and talk about what I want to talk about. And like I'm always open to talking to other people about whatever, but I have like some animation stuff on there that I'd done for funsies. Kind of like my podcast-esque smoke and sips where I would just kind of add something gets on my mind. I don't have a script, which is probably more of a bad thing than a good thing. But then I would just turn on the camera somewhere with a pipe of tobacco and some coffee and kind of Ben philosophize about everything and what's going on. Kind of helped me get through some stuff. One of them in there talks about miscarriages. It's a horrible thing. I've dealt with 2 of them now. And it keeps popping up on my X feed that people that I know or like their friends are still dealing with this stuff. And I'm definitely no expert, but sometimes it just helps to hear someone else who's been through it talk about it. So it's pretty, like I said, now I also have taxidermy work on it. Like, I don't know. Figures this can kind of be a blue collar, non-traditional channel of me. As arrogant as that sounds, like someone wants to hear about just some dude. There we go. Someone's meat and fat out of here. But yeah, trying to build up the watch hours, build up the subscribers, get people to ring the bell. It's a little bit tougher on X just because I know that they're supporting and rewarding more video stuff, right? Or anything that you spend time on to get your impressions up. But I don't like that X has no clear, real easy way to distinguish between shared content and stuff that you posted, right? So like I can go and I'll see a video that someone else made and I can share it. But then if someone comes to my page and is like, hey, I saw this video that Ben made, let me go see if he has anything else. Unless I'm spamming my stuff, whenever they go to like media, they're going to see photos that I've posted, videos that I've posted, and then anything that I've shared that's been photo, video, or GIF. And I don't really like that. It's kind of a dumb way to handle it. Take this vertebrae off the back. Now I'd like that to be a little bit better organized. I mean, I've seen some of the checks from people, like the money they make from these large accounts and their engagement, which is awesome that that's available, but it's always the trying to crack the algorithm and find the right things to post and say if you ever want to make anything off this stuff. Like, it would be cool to make money off of YouTube and Twitter, but I'd almost rather prefer to have the following so that whenever I do get to the level that I can make something, that I have people who would be interested in it. And also so that I can help other people, because it's pretty cool to see people do like a crowdfund and they go on a channel and that channel can boost them to some more success. Almost got this separate. Oh, phone's vibrating. Make sure it's not something important. Doesn't look like it. Oh, YouTube. Apparently, somewhere along the line, a short that I made, which was making fun of the fact that Facebook had some issues with. There was I don't want to call it an issue. There was a rise of people being able to actually post funny stuff and make fun of people on Facebook, which is where I first got my initial following. And so I made a video, which was me seeing somebody shared my my artwork, which was like something that would happen on Facebook, and me going to their page to see like, oh, what's this person like? And then seeing that there was nothing on it except for anime girls in Nazi outfit uniforms. And apparently, after it being up for a year and a half, 2 years, YouTube decided to go through and remove it because it was hate speech. Stuff drives me nuts, man. Like, it was clearly a joke that it was shot as me being concerned and shocked that somebody that would share my little like bean person hunt showdown characters as somebody who would share that would be like posting anime Nazi girl stuff. But apparently YouTube and its algorithms and its bots doesn't understand when something's a joke or if I was promoting it. Dumb. Never understand it. Funny that I noticed this just as I was talking about platforms and competition. Like, I've been interested in the Rumble stuff, but I feel like there's no viewership over there. Like, congratulations, you have essentially signed certain accounts and you have them with exclusive deals, but the people don't leave those channels very often. Like, if you're there for Steven Crowder or Russell Brand, like, you're probably not going to leave it and just go browse. So kind of your organic reach for smaller channels is tiny. And like, I've watched a decent amount of stuff over on Rumble just because, like I said, I don't know, I've tried to go give it a fair shake, and there are certain streamers and YouTubers that end up over there that I still want to see their content, but I just don't know how, unless you're this massive established brand, how you're supposed to get anything done. Like, if you're not Ethan Ralph or Steven Crowder or Dr. Disrespect or like somebody with a large loyal audience, then how would you, I don't know that Rumble has any like homegrown talent or stars, right? Like, it's just people who don't want to deal with YouTube anymore because they got kicked off of YouTube. Kind of in the same way that I don't know that Kick has too much homegrown talent. They got started somewhere else, then got the boot because they were usually just acting like asshats. But it's all just one big interesting question mark. All right, get some more of this. Put behind the eye out. Hopefully the water's hot enough that all I gotta do is just bump it up and throw these heads in that I have done. Right now, just because of how the algorithms and stuff are set up, I feel like YouTube has the smallest path, I don't know, or the shortest path to becoming a X has the shortest path to becoming a competitor to YouTube, because they already have such a huge user base. They just got to figure out how to like better allow for video browsing, maybe. All right, fat and muscle behind the eye, so much. I think this blade is, this is my resharpen, it's finally getting dull. Switch this out. I wonder if I can appeal that video getting booted or not. I feel like if there's a human being looks at something, they're going to go, this is clearly a joke. It's okay. Not that it was like the biggest video or a magnum opus, but it was kind of a time capsule of now that I'm off Facebook, like something that was kind of amusing and reminds me of that first kind of jump into social media, other than just having a personal page for grandma and grandpa to comment on your photos. All right. Trimming this out. Ouch. Cramped spot, stab myself in the finger. Always gotta have one. Trimming all this crap out. Yeah, I'm assuming that most people who will end up stopping by will be out of the indie comics kind of corner of my life. This is more or less how I was raised up, working on dead animals and harvesting the wildlife to eat. Trim some more of this out. Yeah. Indie comics has been interesting for me. Just kind of getting into this stuff. Whenever I first was kind of figuring out what I want to do creatively, started with game development, because that was my number one escapist hobby growing up, was playing video games, followed by probably just like reading books. There we go. Trim that out. And then I tried doing some YouTube animation stuff, because I really like YouTube animators that are tend to be a little bit edgy, or came from kind of the Newgrounds era of animation and art, where it's just kind of goofy, bubbly, edgy stuff that I found funny. And then whenever I realized that, so for the video game stuff, I just realized I couldn't code my way out of a wet sack. I just couldn't get my brain to wrap around it. I'm sure if I really, truly like sat and worked on it, I could probably have some breakthroughs and make something work. But I realized that I really enjoyed making the artwork and story for it a lot more, and coming up with like world building aspects. And I figured that hopefully one day I just get connected with somebody who can program and we could just make a game from there. And I still have ideas for that are kind of obviously backburnered, and a couple friends that are actively learning video game programming. But then I went over to, like I said, the YouTube animation stuff. Started on learning what it takes to animate, reading some books on it, watching some YouTube tutorials about it, made my little animation submission for the video game Hunt Showdown. Was having a fan animation or a fan art contest. So I figured, hey, maybe I'll get lucky and nobody else is going to make an animation. And I might actually win something if I can make something that hits the brief and gets them to chuckle at. Unfortunately, there were several people that nobody made that I saw like hand drawn animations, but there was a very good cosplay group that did some did like a live action trailer, which was super cool. Like it was very well done. So they ended up winning it, and that was they were in the same category that I was in. So I kind of figured. So I'm like, hey, if it's all just these wannabe video game streamers just taking their crappy overlay video and putting it on top of it, then like maybe I have a chance of winning. But as soon as I saw those guys were in the same category, I was like, well, I'm really gonna have to strike the right chord to win with them right here too, and I didn't. So hey, it happens. But it was enough to put me kind of on this path to wanting to learn more about drawing. So I was like, well, maybe I'll come back after I've learned to draw a little bit better. Then I started looking into, well, what can I do to draw better? Okay, well, hey, look at that. Keyframing for animations is very similar to making panels. And depending on the group that I've been in, and whenever I mention that sentiment, I may or may not get a lot of, no, that's not the same thing at all. It's totally different. But I have been hearing it more and more lately, so I'm like, hey, maybe I was right after all. So yeah, I ended up falling down the hole of letting me learn more about drawing comics. And I remembered Doug TenNapel being on like Steven Crowder or something. I was like, oh, cool. Here's this artist that did stuff that I remember from like childhood. And he's a Christian. So I'll go support him and check out what he's done. And then I learned about indie comics and Comicsgate. So I continue to fall down that hole. And here I am, just enjoying my time, supporting indie artists. Most of them are Comicsgate or Comicsgate adjacent, because those guys are all more along the line of conservative, libertarian, not wanting to be censored. So yeah, it's been a fun ride so far. Just learning all this stuff and connecting with people that are in some ways like-minded. Some folks, unfortunately, because we're in a very niche of a niche, are not the most stable. But yeah, it's all just one big learning experience, and I like to learn. I dislike being sedentary and not learning some sort of new skills or for very long. Like, if I'm good at something, it's nice to kind of enjoy it for a little bit and know that, like, hey, I'm good at my job. I know what I'm doing. There's a sense of comfort in knowing that whatever comes your way, you should be able to deal with. But after a bit, it starts to get real old, just kind of going through the motions. All right, I think I got these eye sockets as cleaned out as they're going to get. You scrape the back of the skull more. And then I got to remove the brains. I don't know why I went vampire with that. But yeah, this stuff right on the back of the skull, this like meat, is very difficult to get off later. So the more you can get now to let that water do its thing, the better. Then you have to do a lot less scraping afterwards. Like, no matter whether it's this meat is cooked or not, it ends up being a massive pain. This heavy membrane on the back too. Maybe at a certain point, whenever I get some more eyes on my channel and streams, I can have people can pop in and I can let them on and we can chat. So something that just again think I can talk about is something that I found interesting is so within Comicsgate, right? It's a very niche. I'm trying to take this to people like if somebody hasn't been involved in CG. You have like what are the Comicsgate kings, and the kings were generally just people who were professionals. They worked in the mainstream, and then aged out, canceled, whatever. Now it's a little bit more where one of the main kind of figureheads, I don't want to call him the leader, but the figurehead of the whole movement, Ethan Van Sciver, on his channel, he has the show Comicsgate Kings, and he was using it to push people forward, get them some more eyes, get them some attention. And then a lot of folks who had the wherewithal and the pull started making their own shows and live streaming on their channel so that they can market their book to more people. Sorry if the scratching is a little bit annoying. And so you had certain shows would get more attention and more folks would be involved in it and interested, and you'd grow your viewership and more people would back. And there's been a few folks that were on one of these streams as a typical host that eventually get bitter and quit and or try to burn bridges, because in this whole quest for clout or to be able to gain an audience, get eyes on and market your stuff, sometimes it seems like people would rather just burn a bridge to get some extra eyes on, whether it's just any publicity is good publicity, or it's the like they actually do feel the way that they feel and they want to burn down some sort of relationship. It kind of gets me because I don't want to say that all artists, it's not true, are out of touch with reality, but I feel like there is definitely there's a subset of folks that are out of touch and just don't understand that like maybe they're not as big a draw as they think they are. Or like, I know that growing up, whenever I would write something, I held that whatever I wrote very, very close to me. So I would go through and be like, it was like a personal attack whenever like I was homeschooled. So whenever my mom would correct my stuff or be like, hey, you can't write that doesn't make sense or whatever, because at the moment that's what I felt. And it was the kind of, I guess, the whole it's my truth versus the actual objective truth. And so I had a hard time coping with that for a long time. I didn't want to hear some sort of a critique because it felt like you were attacking me, and it took a bit to realize, like, hey, if you want to get better at something, you have to allow yourself to be critiqued. You have to be able to discern what is a worthwhile critique and what is like just someone trolling for no reason. I mean, we've all been in arguments or discussions online where at a certain point you're like, oh, you just want to fight. That's all this is. Like, you don't actually have thought out points. You're just repeating something that someone else said. You don't even really know why, and you're just here to fight. But it's when I was getting at with the whole people not getting along and then like trying to burn bridges is, if you work a normal job, you're going to have people you work with that you might not always agree with, or you might not even like. I work a factory job. My factory job has people there that I don't necessarily get along with or like, but I need to maintain at least a cordial business relationship because I still have to see them whenever I go to work. I still work with them. Like, they're not making me money, but they're allowing me to do my job more effectively so that I don't get in trouble for getting like low parts counts or something because somebody's sandbagging me somewhere. So usually it works the best to just be like, hey, go along, get along. You don't have to agree with everything that they do. You don't have to be around them all the time, but just have a professional business relationship because you're going to make more money that way. And it seems like within this super niche area, you have an awful lot of people that don't seem like they can do that. Whether they feel the need to burn a bridge or to call out distancing, like, kind of could go either way. But I don't get it. Like, if you have someone that's helping you make a lot of money, why would you burn that bridge? Like, if you do that, you better be damn sure you have an exit plan or some way to make that back or to pull a parachute. So if you don't have that, then you should probably shut up until you can do so. Like my current employment, I've had lots of people come up to me and be like, Ben, I can't stand it here anymore. I just need to go somewhere else and make some more money. I'm like, well, that's up to you to decide, but where we're located at, like, there's not a lot of other options, man. Like, do you have something else lined up? Well, no. Okay, well, like, not trying to be an ass, but like, do you have some set of skills that you can draw on that I don't know about because they weren't used at this job? Well, not really. Well, then what are you talking about? You need to shut up, keep working, get those skills so that you can go get what you feel like you're worth. But if you don't have those skills, like, you need to keep your employment so that you can keep paying your bills. I don't get it. Like, it's an easy idea whenever you're in the blue collar world. So why does it seem to be such a convoluted one once you hit the art world? Like, is it just because everybody feels like if they're in their heart of hearts that they're better than the other guy? So therefore it's not as much of an issue? I don't know. Like, if I ever was making enough money doing anything I enjoy, YouTube, drawing, cartooning, whatever, I would try to keep my day job for as long as possible. And then once I realize, hey, I work 10 hours a week on this other thing and I make a crap ton of money and it's been consistently this way, then yeah, maybe you can start thinking about quitting your day job to do your essentially paid hobby full time. But if that math's not there, then why are you trying to burn bridges? Why are you trying to rock the boat? Like, these are people that can help you, that they can help promote you, that you're making money off the backs of other folks. So why wouldn't you take that for as long as possible and figure out ways to deal with any interpersonal problems? It just seems very, very impulsive and short-sighted. And I'm nobody, so it's not like I can reach out to any of these individuals and ask them, hey, why did you do XYZ? And get any type of real answer. And a lot of this stuff as well is, I don't know if it's kind of taboo or what, but it seems like there's a lot of people that would just automatically assume the worst because of the questions you're asking. Like, I'm new in this scene. I don't really have an axe to grind. Like, I have people that I watch, and I have people that have been kind to me or supported me or allowed me to learn more or helped mentor. So I'm going to treat those guys well. But like, other than that, I don't have this massive list of loyalties. I'm not going to come ask you this question because I'm trying to look for a gotcha. And like, it's tough because the internet's the internet, and like, nobody can fully discern your motives. But it still just feels crazy. Ugh. Brain soup. Oh. All right, what's going on with mom now? Okay. Somebody talking to my wife and probably telling her something she knows. All right, trash bags, brain bag. But yeah, I don't fully get it, and like, it's tough being on the outside looking in of comics and indie comics and Comicsgate, and wanting to be involved in some aspects and not in others, because like, drama can get old, but it also sells to a much broader audience, right? Like, if you have something that's generally interesting, it's gonna be more appealing than some super niche, like, did you know that Green Lantern's not gay or whatever? To be like, look at this guy, he's an idiot. Like, he said this and actually meant that, and he says that he's making money, but he's not. All right, brain time. De-brained. And sometimes I do wonder, because you can discern some of where someone comes from depending on who they decide to support in these types of things. Gotta go give this head a rinse. Like, whenever it comes to Comicsgate, I tend to watch a lot of Ethan Van Sciver because he's the most entertaining to me. Like, it's usually not art focused, and I do prefer to see, like, I do enjoy seeing art focused stuff, but he's just an entertaining dude to watch. So even if you have no clue what you're walking into, like, he can get you caught up. People will ask questions in his chat, and you'll get enough information to know what's going on with what he's talking about. But then I also like watching the other people that are on the Comicsgate Kings, different shows, because they will talk more artwork. They'll talk more process of actually making comics. And I find all of it very, very intriguing right now. I'm probably going to continue to find it intriguing. Scrub this antler. And it is also interesting to see, like I said, who kind of blows in with what hot takes and how long they stick around for. Like, there are people who, I only really started paying attention to Comicsgate stuff within the last year and a half, 2 years. There are people who have blown in, like on the fan side, made videos, clipped things, given interviews or opinions, or had some scathing remarks or things that they've noticed that are, like, I never really had a huge opinion on, that now I'm either talking to semi-frequently, or if they come on a stream, I go, yeah, I'm good. So it's not really like parasocial, but it's an interesting development whenever you're not usually involved in internet drama. Score the roof of the mouth. Let this dry off. Looks like these other skulls are pretty good to go. I gotta tape up their antlers. But yeah, I don't know how interesting this has been or how many people have stopped by and checked things out, but appreciate you dropping in and saying hi or just listening for a little bit as I ramble and work on stuff. I go dump this scraps out in the bucket outside and start getting things ready to drop into the boil. Open my doors up. All right. Doors are open. Yeah, I don't know if I would call it professionalism or a lack thereof, that people can't just do the work and avoid all the extra BS. A book that I enjoy called Bronze Star. A comic book written by Mike Baron, illustrated by, oh goodness, what was his name? I'm blanking now. God, I feel terrible. But this artist is Pat. Oh, what's his last name? Crap. Let me open this up some more. There we go. That should start boiling soon. The artist was far more like hippie left, and whereas Mike Baron, the writer, is very much right wing, like he's appeared on Fox News and stuff. So you've got these guys with two different ideologies and political leanings, and in this world, like, we see how much that can affect people. And yet they work together, and they're going to continue to doing books together because they work well together. And I don't know why that isn't more of a prevalent thing. Like, I don't agree with everything my boss does. I don't agree with the owner of the company that I work for, like, at all. But I'm still going to work there because I need to be employed. Let's take this trash bag off. Look and see how this head's looking. Looks good to go. Oh, not really. What the hell? Again, this is not one that I did. This has to be one that my father did. And he did not scrape the back near as well as I did, despite him ranting and raving about how, well, the head's just moved. How this needs to be super clean, but it is not super clean in the back. I know a lot of this boils off, but still, like, I like having everything about the same amount done whenever I pull it out each time from the boiling water. But yeah, maybe it is professionalism that I'm looking for whenever I look at creators who can't get things done or are burning bridges for no reason, apparently, or just because they're grumpy about something. I'll keep the trim of this. On the topic of professionalism and stuff, like, I put it in a little bit of a different category whenever crowdfunders are late on things. Like, as long as I know I'm fairly new to all this stuff, but as long as people are giving updates as to what's going on, it doesn't bother me a lot. Like, I just need to know how things are coming. Like, mistakes are bound to happen whenever you're trying something new. And, like, while a lot of these guys know how to draw and they know how to get the crowdfunder done, is sometimes they're going to overcommit. Like I'm someone who very much I want to please people. I'm a people pleaser. So sometimes I will overcommit my time or my attention, and I have to disappoint people because I can't do what I said I was going to do. So growing up, I knew that that was the case, and so now, as an adult, I try to do my best to play around that, knowing that I will overcommit sometimes. So I always try to double check and make sure that what I'm committing to is going to be reasonable for me. Like I still have failings, but yeah. So whenever people struggle, like Jimmy Reyes on Dragon Rage, like I backed that book. Still waiting for that book. He made some business decisions with shipping and returned or put people who messed up and didn't have their addresses on right. That ate up his shipping budget, which sucks. And like I still want my book, but I can understand why he's having issues. He was pretty forthcoming with it. Doesn't make it 100% okay. He's gonna have to win a lot of people back, but at least he has updates. Whereas other people, who I have, again, not really any problem with, I backed a sketchbook from the artist Kelsey Shannon. And he, I didn't know it at the time, has kind of a legendary status of he's here, he's doing things, he's on streams, he's talking to people, he's on social media, and then suddenly just disappears. And no one has any idea where he went or why he disappeared. And then he resurfaces in a couple months. And like, okay, I don't know like what's going on there. It's not really any of my business. But if I'm ever going to create something, I want to make sure that that doesn't happen. That I don't do that to people, because that is very annoying whenever you're like, dude, like, I don't think that you stole the money or something, but like, I just want the book because it looks cool and I want to enjoy it. Like, this is not some crazy ulterior motive or smear campaign. Like, it looks cool. I just want to check it out. Like, I paid for it, so that's because I want to see it made. So where are you at? And no comment on it is annoying. It's like, oh, dude, like, come on, let's just put something out. Say where you're at. I think the last update was like June or July, where he's like, hey, everything's done. I got the proof back for the printer, and I had to redo a bunch of things, but it's okay because I mostly had that done anyhow. And I'm like, okay, cool. So it shouldn't take a long period, right? And then he disappears. You're like, oh, okay, never mind then. Oh, interesting. It's kind of tough to get the idea of crowdfunding across to people who have never been involved in it before, because there's all these different websites for it that may or may not ban you based off of your other social media or cancellation campaigns. And most people only really know like Kickstarter. So I knew Indiegogo because there were some video game things that I had backed on it whenever I was like in college. But most people don't know about those things. And so the idea of this isn't a pre-order, you are funding for you're betting on the hope of supporting something be created, and it might not happen. Like that kind of is a tough sell. All right, where is his clear plastic tape? Right here. There we go. Get rid of that. Actually, Dad used electric tape on the other one, so maybe I'll use electrical tape on it too. Especially whenever some of these people who have left and burnt bridges on their way out, it sucks because a lot of these people are talented people, and it's not quite a if you build it, they will come situation where you got to get eyeballs on whatever it is that you're working on, and if you don't, then people aren't going to know that it even exists to be able to come to it. And there's several people that I've seen leave Comicsgate now that had fairly to very successful crowdfunding campaigns for their ideas that now don't look like they're doing so hot. Now, I don't know how many have actually made full campaigns in the meantime, but I've seen a couple that were like reprints or whatever, or second printing, and it's not great. And I feel like that's something that, had they stayed within the Comicsgate umbrella, they would have made enough to make it worthwhile. And not just be a couple $100 into their pocket, but be a couple thousand or more, like potentially it'd be their full-time job. But I guess whenever one person falls, there's room for another. So hopefully people who can go along and get along will end up coming in and sticking around. Snip that off. Because yeah, I find it fun to see what people's stories and ideas are that they really want to tell, and helping them get to the point where they can do so. There we go. I'll keep wrapping this. On around, trying to keep the tag that they put on it after they kill it from getting all soaked in boiling water. I guess regardless, people who are hungry enough will find a way to make things succeed in the entrepreneurial world and in comics or other. I'm just hoping that we can see some influxes of new creators in every medium that we can support. All right, that's that. If I can get some more of this hair out of here. There we go. All right, get some paper towel to dry this off, and then get this wrapped. These all wrapped up so that they don't soak up too much of that oily water once I start boiling these. Where'd my knife go? It makes me nervous whenever I just was holding it. There you go. A scalpel, and then suddenly I can't find it. Alrighty. It's also interesting seeing how some of these people, when they live stream, right? The different varying size in the audience. Like, I don't know how the big like Twitch streamers could possibly make it work. You can have a chat be put on like a slowdown, but even then, some of the speed of the messages is so insane. I mean, even going into Ethan's chat or something, it's I feel like if you want to get noticed, you definitely got a super chat, because it's just constantly machine gunning through. All right, let's go take a look-see at how much of this water is boiling yet. Pretty close. All right. Should start boiling soon. Been waiting for this thing to start up. All right. Take a quick pee break and be right back. Take my mic off. Actually, I think I just mute myself, huh? Unmute. Oh, goodness. All right, let's see here. Oops, make sure that everything's still running properly. Okay. Still is, cool. I will copy the link and share it. Alrighty. Clear out some of this other crud. See if the 13th. Supposedly we might be getting a bonus. My work was just saying that it's a gift. Is it a bonus though? Or is it just something else? That's the real question. Interesting. Well, I guess we'll find out. All right. Pop this top without getting a bunch of brainy tools all over it. All right, so I do believe once I get these things in to start boiling, what I will start on is the finishing touches for some of these bleached skulls that I have, which I have 2 right now. I think there might be a couple on the wall. I gotta look. I see 1, maybe more that need to be touched up. And once those get taken care of, then I can get paid for them. So I've been put all through their paces. Take a second to clean up my workspace. Yeah, let's see here. There we go. Finally starting to boil. Took it long enough, good Lord. What I will do is throw some extra water in it for everything that evaporated off, steamed off. Put the link in a couple places to see if anybody wanted to stop by and say hi. Yeah, I hope everyone had a pretty good year overall. It's been a good one for us. It was a rough while. 2023 was kind of rough for us. We had a miscarriage towards the end of it when we were trying to get pregnant, and then ended up, surprise, surprise, getting pregnant when we weren't trying, and just had that baby here right before Halloween. I'll fill this up some more. And yeah, it has been a whole adventure. Good and bad, take it as you can. Sometimes there have been days where it's just been kind of tough to get up and get moving and get rolling, but we make it through. All right, I'll put these heads in that water. I think I can fit them all in, I hope. All right, hey. That one's in good. Onesie, twosie. And can I fit this last little guy in here? Threesie. Heck yeah, I can. Nice. I just gotta watch this so it doesn't boil over. There we go. All right. Feel where the wind's coming from and put my little wind blocker up. Right now it feels like it's coming down the hill. All right. Anyhow. Clean up my workspace again. Glove back up. You definitely want it to be clean before you start messing with finished skulls, unless you want it all stained up and nasty. Just throw that right there for now. All right. Rag to wipe that all down with. Oh, cleaned up, dried off, ready to finish off some of these other skulls. That'll be good. I can get paid, because that bank account is hurting after the baby and the tongue tie revision stuff and all the doctor's appointments. It is time to get this dealt with. And my free time lately, I have been either doing this or working on my daughter's little comic book, because she sweetly requested that I make, and I quote, a green comic book for her for Christmas. Now, I had no idea what the heck green comic book is, but it's what she asked for. So I've been trying to figure it out ever since. All right, let's see if. So you can see on this skull how it has this white on it that needs to be stained, and around here by this burr. See if I can kind of get it to. It needs stained so it darkens up some. All right. Where is the stain that he uses? Is it this burnt umber stuff? That looks like paint. Stain, stain, stain. I will text Dad and ask. Hey, where is that stain for the base of the antlers? It's probably right in front of me. I just don't see it. Oh, I think I see it. That's red. That's brown. I'll ask Dad if this is it. Set that right here. All right. Well, I guess I will wait for him to get back to me. I would take this time to go over the chat, but nobody's talking right now, which is fine. I'll double check my pot of water, see where we're at on it. Looks like it's still boiling. Just slowly. Alrighty. Don't really want to jump right into another head, but maybe I will. I know he was asking about getting this small rack done. It's been in here for a little bit, so I'll grab it next. This absolute monster. Good Lord. They killed Bambi. All right. Glove back up. Get this dealt with. Hoy vey. Close out a bunch of this stuff. Yeah, our HR person put a message out that was just saying, it's been a challenging year, but the owner has prepared a gift for all of you. I'm like, uh-oh. Is it laid off? I work in a very boutique, niche kind of industry now. So it's tough whenever the economy goes down and takes a dip. That is kind of like, yeah, people, unless you can eat it, like hunt or defend yourself with it, or use it to get back and forth to work, like people aren't buying it. So whenever you work making tactical knives, there's not really a lot of demand for that whenever everyone's hurting for money. And for whatever reason, they were under the impression that we drove our own industry, and so that if we made enough knives that they were bound to sell, and that's what would keep us afloat. And like on one angle, I kind of understand it, like you can't sell what you don't have. But on the other, like, dude, what are you talking about? How can you say that you think that if you make more of something, then you will clearly just make more money because of it? Like, that is insanity. Good Lord, what is this thing? It's like hard like a piece of wood at this point. It's just all dried out. Ew. I mean, if that was the case, the comic book industry would have never had a bubble burst. It would have just kept making more, and people would have magically shown up for it. It's just such a dumb thing. Like, I know that I'm no high-end CEO or high-level leadership, but like, just such a bizarre thing. If that's even the actual answer that they were given, not just the answer that I was given by my boss. This deer head has been in the refrigerator for too long. It is dried out like a piece of jerky. Good, sweet baby jeebus. This is going to be a pain. I can tell already. Well, get it done now versus done later. Keep carving away. Maybe that was when I should use the big knife to get a little bit of prying leverage here. Oh, I need to set a timer for my deer head. All right, I guess this little bottle was the right one, even though it says paint. So, always clarify, because you never want to accidentally ruin something. All right, dried out deer head. You can go down here for now. I'll re-clean my work area. Now I'm just left wondering what the year-end bonus / gift from my work will be. Is it going to be a knife? That wouldn't be terrible either. I mean, it's not as good as a nice bonus, but you could always sell it if you really needed to. Don't know. It'll be interesting to find out. If it's a bonus, I'd like to be able to pay off a little bit more debt from having this baby. And then if I have anything left over, it would be cool to be able to back some more art books from really good artists. I've been enjoying the influx of people putting digital on their campaigns, because a lot of time I just kind of struggle to have space. All right. Little paintbrush. I have the space to be able to where's my beer cap go? Actually, make a good dipping pan to put all the books at. Like toddler and stuff running around. Like, I don't have a ton of extra space that is where she won't destroy things that I can still get to fairly quickly. Nephew's putting in this. And they've generally been a little bit cheaper, so I can afford to back more books. There's a lot of very deserving creators out there that you want to back. They make cool stuff. They have good business practices. But it's hard to actually do so whenever you don't have the cash. Paint this up. Just restain this brown. Dang, yep, that does look pretty darn good. Add some more brown under here. I'm about to figure out a better, if I continue to do this, better setup to show what the heck I'm doing. Thought about maybe connecting my camera on my phone as well to allow me to essentially have multiple cameras set up. Get that white all. Flick that in. There we go. There we go. Blend that all together. Is this where the years of painting Warhammer 40K miniatures comes in handy? Slowly go through, restain these antlers where they bleached and they shouldn't have. I have been wondering, thinking maybe about getting a one of these skulls off of eBay, because you can get them for, I don't know, fairly cheap, and practicing like painting something cool on it, a design or something, just to try to do something a little bit more artistic and interesting. All right, that looks pretty cool. Let that dry. Ooh, careful, beer. Just double check that, make sure there's nothing I'm missing here that I can't take a little bit darker without feather that out some. Not quite as obvious looking. Cool. All right, that's that one stained. Grab this other skull, stain its burrs. Use the heaviest amount of it up where things are bleached the hardest. I'll just feather it on down. these are a little bit bleached out. People expect their antlers to look nice and brown, not like pale purple in places. Alrighty. Looking a bit better now. There's no random white spots on it. There's a little bit from like the bleaching powder. Looks like it came off in a few places. I don't know how the hell it got all over the top. It had to have been just from whenever my father came in and gave these a rinse. All right. Put this over here. I usually try to keep them tipped back like this with the nose to the sky so that nothing on the antlers runs down onto the skull and undoes any of that bleaching that we put on it. It's like that's the whole point. You want this thing to be nice and bleached, as white as possible. That's what people expect, so they look for. Feather that out a little bit more. It's tough to show on the stream, unfortunately. I'll gently go through, restain some more of this. All right. That's probably some of the about how it's gonna go here. Any other little specks and freckles of white where they shouldn't be? Not really. Cool. That's basically done for now then. Those can dry, and then I can put our little wax on it to make it shine. Go check on my pot. Give this rinse so I get the stain out of that brush. These might be cheap, junky brushes, but why waste money where you don't have to, right? It's stinky over here. I have a feeling that sink trap hasn't been cleaned out in a while. A little bit further open. Not much. Keep that burrowing. Go back to my dried up deer head. All right. Come here, Buck. Yuck, yuck. Very dry. Very jerkified. Double check and make sure everything's okay with my whiff with her long drive back. Her My mother-in-law, she seems to always be able to find the worst things to say at any given time to my wife. Like, even whenever she means well, it's just like, oh, some of the things she says, like, dude, that's not really helpful, but okay. But maybe it's the whole generation of feeling like you need to say something so it helps, even if it's just like a chin up, kiddo, even though you're like, dude, that's not helpful at all. I was hoping for advice, not chin up. I'm going to do the smart thing and not cut towards me. I don't have to worry about accidentally gutting myself. Get this to slowly open up. The ridge right between the eyes just dips down just enough that if you're not scraping the bone while you cut, you kind of miss it. Hopefully I can get at least 4 or 5 of these done in the amount of time that it takes me. That would be pretty awesome to be able to get a good chunk of these knocked out. All right, I can get this to release around the antlers better. It is just not quite letting me do what I need it to do with this dried out skin. It kind of reminds me of whenever I tan hides, because you gotta flesh it and it gets real papery. All right, let's just maybe try to cut this down some more. From Bambi to skull in 2 hours. Bambi was always a contentious movie with our households. We're like, it anthropomorphizes and humanizes animals, which we eat. It makes the hunters the bad guy, but we are the hunters. There we go. There we go. Open this thing up best as I can. They left a lot of neck on this little deer. Kind of uncalled for. It being as cold, actually, probably if I'm smart, I should grab that other deer head and pull it out and let it thaw a little bit more. Good Lord, it's big. I can't believe this guy wants the European mount this. Man, that's a nice buck. I can't believe that. He'll be for later. Literally 2 sides of the same coin, same deer coin. I've got this one, which is small, and so I'm left going, man, I can't believe somebody would want to pay money to have this done into a European mount. And then the other one, which I'm like, I can't believe you wouldn't want to pay more money to have this turn into a full size, like shoulder. stinking right at the base of this antlers. What's getting me right now? All hung up. Without cutting myself. Keep peeling this along. Oof. Broken blade. Probably shouldn't have been prying with it. Just typical ooga dooga man idea of if it fit in hand, it can pry. Alright, let's see if I can use this fatter knife for prying then. It should just kind of like pop up like you're unbuttoning something. So there shouldn't be much holding it around the bottom of this antler. Should literally just be like the little bit of membrane. All right, this will work for now. There we go. That's one side free. Thank the Lord. There we go. Now I'm getting a little bit of flow to get this out from underneath that burr. Just one little pry at a time. Oh yeah, I've got my little comic book that I'm making for my daughter. I think right now it's at 12 pages. I'm trying to set it up in such a way that it kind of flows. I mean, it's for her, but I'm still trying to do a good job of telling a story and have it be of decent quality, not just like well, it's for my kids, so who cares? Like, who wouldn't want their child one day to be like, you know what story that I love, Dad? That one you made. It still is really good. I'd like to read it to my kids. There we go. Huzzah! We got it out underneath the burr. Ooh. But yeah, then I'm going to put it up on probably Gumroad, just so that anyone else who wants to check it out can check it out. I'd also contemplated making like printing instructions for it's like, hey, if you ever want to give this to your kid, here's how to make an ash can zine out of a single piece of paper or whatever. Just kind of all that underground stuff I always thought was super cool. So making zines, making trading cards. But yeah, working on that booklet for my daughter. It's already up to 12 pages, which is, I don't know. It feels like it's as much, I'm going to use as many pages as I need to tell the story I want to tell. And I'm sure that there's probably a more concise way of doing it if I was more knowledgeable. But this is what I got to work with. I can only do what I know. And right now, shape out to be long. If I can, or I might have to cut it up a little bit and do like 12 pages, and then that's that ash can, and I can make like pick the story up on the next one just to have something that she can hold in her hands on Christmas. Probably going to either go black and white or very basic color with like watercolor or markers. Just want to have a little bit more of a soft color palette to it. And I like the look of watercolor and like Japanese-ish markers. I think that she would enjoy color more than black and white. Kind of all started whenever I made my pixel art comic book and like Ashcan, and I had a test print copy that I had just kind of printed off to make sure that everything looked like it was in the right place, and it had some misprints, so I threw some stuff away. And she ended up getting her hands on it somehow. It ended up just like somewhere she could reach it or what. So it was already junk. It's not like she ruined anything. But she was like, my daddy made this. This is a comic book, and my daddy made it. And I was like, that's really cool. And then now whenever she sees me reading or practicing, she's like coloring or drawing, and she's just like, well, I want to help with a comic book. I'm like, well, can't really do too much of that right now, buddy. But if you want, I could make you a comic book. She's like, for me? Like, yeah, for you, bud. And that turned into green comic book. I'm like, what the hell is a green comic book? So I asked her, I said, what do you like that's green, Rory? And she's just, purple. I'm like, well, that's not how colors work. You can't say your favorite green thing is purple. Doesn't make any sense. So that left me to try to brainstorm. I like threw it in a couple chats that I'm in, like group messages and like DM rooms. I'm like, anybody have an idea what this could mean? And I had some idea of what I wanted to do, but I wasn't sure if there was like somebody who was going to have an even better idea. And some ideas got tossed out that I liked. And I'm like, yeah, that's cool. But the problem is like I said, they weren't my idea. So I have a harder time getting my brain behind it and building the story of it. Whereas my ideas I've been chewing on for years because they came from video game ideas or they came from animation type things that I've had rolling around in my head, and I just got to figure out how I would want to adapt it into a comic book. But yeah, so I ended up turning it into, because she had this like costume thing that my mom had bought, where for some reason my mom went through this like stage of being like, I'm gonna get this Yoda thing and take it into my classroom because she has a special ed class, and but it was always Yoda for some reason. And so she went with, and she ended up bringing, actually, I don't even know if it was for mom, but it was this little green hat with Yoda ears and a green skirt, which for some reason was a Star Wars Yoda skirt. And she gave it to Aurora, and then Rory was bouncing around with this little hat on. I was like, it looks more like goblin ears than Yoda. And so that turned into, I'm like, oh, she's Goblin Kid or Goblin Girl. And so now I've been making that into her Ashcan because, hey, goblins are green. And kind of shaping up to be, without me fully noticing or intending it to be, kind of like a Calvin and Hobbes story. So I'm kind of running with that because I loved Calvin and Hobbes growing up. Phew, this is stinky. So yeah, it's been kind of fun seeing where that's taken me. I'm sure the artwork will be rough because I'm not an adept cartoonist yet. But it's for my daughter, so I don't think it matters too much. And it's practice for me to learn something new, to work on my layout skills for this stuff. And my pixel art Ashcan, I only ever made it for funsies to hand out at a convention, just to like for free, for the love of it. And a lot of people thought it was pretty neat. Like, some of it was probably just kind words, but A lot of people seem to get a kick out of the idea and the spirit behind it. So I put it on Gumroad because I was just like, well, screw it. If people want to see what I'm doing, I can just point them over here and be like, yeah, here was the little ash can that I made, or comic book, short comic. And they can just come over here and read it for free because it's on Gumroad. And then if someone reads it and goes, hey, I want to help support this guy, they could kick me a couple bucks. So I put it as like, pay what you want, because in truth, I made it for free. I handed it out for free. I'm not going to charge for it. I'm like, who the heck would want to pay $3, $6, $4, $5 for something that they have no clue whether they're even interested in or not? I'd much rather just allow someone to read it, go, hey, that was kind of neat, or that was fun. Let me kick this dude enough to buy a coffee or something. Like, that's kind of where my mind was. And I think I made off of that on Gumroad like $11, $20, something like that. Which I said, that's really cool. Somebody wanted to give me a couple bucks for my troubles whenever they didn't need to. They could just consume it for free. That's a lot of neck. Crap. What a pain. It's like a piece of wood too. Probably right about there is where I want to go. I'll get a fresh blade in this thing, or I'll sharpen this one, and I'll commence to hacking on this neck. But yeah, it's been fun coming up with the ash can, right? Like, I'm like, all right, I've got Goblin Kid. And I've never been someone who I've never practiced like script writing or anything. Like, I did some writing for world building for a tabletop war game, which I think I still owe. I know for a fact I still owe the guy a little bit of writing. I need to do him some more writing, because he asked about it, and then shit's gotten crazy, so I just haven't gotten to it. For his tabletop war game. And so I did some, and he wants to go from like a skirmish book into a bigger book, so I need to write some more. So I'm going to do that. But that was like the extent of the writing, and then academically I've written. So I need to, I've never like wrote scripts before. I've talked to a few people about like how they write scripts and like what the work they've done is. Just trying to get an idea. Some people write it like they're writing a screenplay, which is interesting, where they're like, oh, it's like daylight, it's building on the left, whatever, and it's all like camera directions. And I think that's interesting, but my brain doesn't really work like that too well. I just kind of tend to be like, here's a vibe, and here's an idea of what I think sounds cool in my head. How do I get that to show? How do I get other people to see what's in my mind? And so I tend to work with like key frames or ideas of like how I would like moments that I would want to include. And then sorry, just a little bit of extra work on this one because it's half frozen still. And like I said, vibes I'm trying to get across, where it's like, all right, well, I want there to be this sense of foreboding. So how would I get that? Or like some sense of wonder and interest. Well, how do I make that work? And then, like I said, I'm like thinking in scenes and pictures. So I'm going, well, here's this cool idea, like cards falling through the air in like a jumbled mess. That's a cool shot for this idea that's in a gambling hall. So I can do something with that. And then other times it's I like this idea of like a robot dying in the trenches of alt history of World War II, and having a callback to like the intro where you saw what his purpose was before he got sent to the military, because they were so low on people, they started drafting like the robots too. So, and I'm like, well, how do I get to there? How do I include that? So that's kind of been more it's like, instead of drawing a map, I'm trying to take people somewhere based off of landmarks, where it's like, then you're going to see this. Now, how do I tell them to get from seeing this one image to another one and have it make sense? So that's been, so far, just kind of like I get a couple ideas, I get a general idea, I think about it, and then I start drawing and trying to connect the dots that I was plotting in my head. So like this one opens and I have some action, because I'm like, well, I want to write it like a good comic book, even though it's going to be something for my daughter for Christmas and she can't read. I'm like, well, so then I have to have strong visuals, and then I can explain it to her, or I can read her the dialogue, and it'll help her understand it. But the visuals itself will show her what's going on. Like, she could just look at the pictures and still more or less understand what's happening. So it's like, okay, start with action to try to hook somebody in if they were reading it. And then once you have the action to bring them in, then like I think it's the first page is kind of a splash page, which I don't know if that's a wise decision or not. But it's action, and it's to like I said, to draw you in. It's the little girl being attacked by this giant bee monster. Also, a lot of these themes are all because it's things that my daughter are interested in. So she's being attacked by this bee monster and defending herself with a shield, and then the bee sinks its stinger through through like the shield that she has, which is going to be a metal shield, and when it sinks it through, you like get the look on her face, like you see that she's wearing this like hat with goblin ears and her curly hair sticking out. Good freaking luck. How the hell did you get this thing unthawed? Or unthawed, thawed. So we let me just force this up through. Then you turn the page and you see it sunk its stinger through the shield. She looks panicked. You see just outside of her reach is a club. And so she reaches and she grabs it, and then she smacks this bee monster in the head because its stinger is still stuck through the shield. And whenever she smacks it, it dislodges, flies out of the way, and crashes into a corner. Then she throws the shield, like Captain America style. She throws the shield. It hits the bee again as it's like standing there. She has a moment of, here's my chance. Here's the one shot I get. She runs up these little like stone steps. It's an indoor scene, so it's kind of like a dungeon. That's what I wanted to look like. She runs up these steps that are next to where it crashed, jumps off, leaping through the air with a club, and smacks it in the head. Or midair, you hear the words, "What are you doing?" And it pops into reality. Here, it's this little girl who is playing imaginary and trashing the kitchen of the house that she lives in, and her mother is like, "What in the world are you doing?" So you have mom disapprovingly standing there, and the goblin kid, which is just a little girl wearing a hat and playing pretend, standing there or thumping on like a little bumblebee beanie baby. So, there goes that lower jaw. She gets kicked outside, told to go play because she's trashing the house. And then that's kind of when the true adventure begins, because it's about what she finds outside and what she learns. Cut these more muscles out. And she is exploring the outside through the next couple pages, just kind of rapid fire panels of what does a kid do whenever they're outside? They don't have a plan. Well, they wander around, kick some rocks, find a cool looking stick, poke at the anthill, stuff like that. And then, all right, how much do we get this lower jaw off here? Then inevitably she hears some rustling in the weeds, goes to go check that out, and ends up finding an old train car on some railroad. That's like an overgrown section of railroad that's in the woods behind her house. And this is drawing kind of a little bit from my surrounding area. Like there are old railroad grades. Obviously, there wouldn't be like a rail car on them or anything. But there's old railroad grades. You've got all these old but used to be, you can tell where somebody's farmhouse, where and then it was abandoned a long time ago. Just like some relics of the old world. But instead, it has an active rail car on it, which, again, Calvin and Hobbes-esque. Is it real or not? Is it imaginary? Who knows? But it's all fun. And there is going to be some little goblins living on it. I love goblins. I want to slowly reclaim them from the poor hell that Goblin Slayer has put them in as to what goblins are like. And then it's just going to turn into kind of the adventures of learning more about them and the wonders of outdoors and imagination. All right, trying to help shore up my poor wife. She's having a rough time right now with the girls by herself. All right, I'm going to go check those skulls. Yeah. Very dirty skull. All right. See how much of this I can get out. All the sloppy, meaty gunk. All right, start picking at this one. See how done it is. Okay-ish, not amazing yet. Still pretty gloopy. This one is quite cooked enough. Galupe. Yeah, I'll put that back in for a little bit more. Not quite there yet. Oy vey. take that a little bit more. Yes. All right, cool. Oh my. Keep working, just keep working. I figure out how the heck to get this skull off. I gotta get this neck cut off. I don't think we have a hacksaw in here anywhere. I think Dad said that it was easier to whoopsies, come in from the bottom than it is to come in from the top. So I guess we'll start here. I get this very stinky skull taken care of. Okay, where is our, yeah, right about there is where the joint should be. There we go. The stinking thing opened up. Keep opening up this vertebrae. Put some more tension on it. Come on, you pain. Just keep cutting. Sorry if this is a bit dull for anyone who stops in. I'm just focusing on getting this neck vertebrae detached from the base of the skull. And I haven't had anybody in here for a couple minutes, so I'm not exactly talking to anyone in particular. Come on, baby. Come loose. There we go. She's coming now. There we go. That's taking care of that. There's nothing else holding on that side. There goes that entire neck. Good. Whew. Sigh of relief. Don't have to deal with that giant chunk of crap anymore. I just got to get more of this meat cleaned out. Hopefully this thing continues to thaw. It is 12:30. I would like to be done with this stuff earlier than later, because man, oh man, it has been a week. And it would be great if I could go hang out, give my wife a little break after this long drive with the kids up to the doctor's office. meat cut out. There we go. Constantly trimming at this, and it's always like, it's tough to tell, right? Like whenever it's certain things are gonna be easier done frozen or not. This is definitely not. The further you go into cleaning out the gunk in the head, the more you see that's like frozen solid. So might wrap this stream up so I can kind of focus on this a little bit more. This is not exactly very interactive right now, which probably shows. It's all just me fighting with this stinking head. So probably call it here so I can get a little bit more in depth and go walk away from the iPad more to thaw this thing out. But for anyone who has joined and hung out watching, I appreciate it. And anyone who talked to the chat, appreciate you. If you don't mind, and there's anyone still watching, go ahead and subscribe, follow me on Twitter, ring the bell on YouTube. I don't post a ton on YouTube. I'm not going to ask you to ring the bell on Twitter just because I do a lot of reposting and that might drive people nuts. But yeah, I'll be putting out some more stuff soon on YouTube. I'm going to keep streaming at least for a couple hours every time I come out and do this. But yeah, thanks for stopping by, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye.